Hello and welcome back to Anti-Depressing. This is the show where we talk about everything from liturgy
to Lexapro.
Woo! Okay, you guys, this week we are so excited because we're joined by a lovely guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. It's great to be here with you all. I'm Peter Blute here in Dallas. So glad to be on the podcast with you today.
Yes, Peter, we'd like to say that our podcast is for, men and women. We do lean a little bit more into the women as, pop culture girls. But we are so excited to have, an awesome Catholic dude here to just, talk about Catholic culture and the work that you are doing for young adults, as that is, kind of our core audience. So We're so grateful to have you here and excited to just talk all about young adult culture. And hopefully you can give us some also tips for getting ourselves out of the corporate wormhole that a lot of us are in, and remind us that it is important to have community. So we're just so excited for you to be here. So
yes, such a gift. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what YCP is. If a listener is like, I don't even know what that stands for.
Please.
Yeah. Well, firstly, I have 3 young daughters, a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 4-month-old. So
oh my gosh, God bless.
I am all in girl land, girl dad. It's girl dad life as far as I can see. So
I love that.
I love it. I love every single minute of it. So, growing up with sisters and now having girls, I've really been I've been in it. So maybe I have a little extra perspective there. But
there it is. He's used to it. He's down with the girlies. He's good.
Yeah, I love it. Actually, funny side story. My wife got me this hat for Christmas, and it says "Support your local girl dad" right across the front.
Oh my God!
I love that.
I just love it.
I love that. Well, thank you. Welcome to the Girl Squad. It's the best squad to be in. So thank you.
I love it. Yeah. So, born and raised in Texas, raised in the faith, and went to public school my whole life, and then went to a Catholic school for college. Was my first real experience, being out of the public school space. So got a lot of experience with the culture, kind of raw in middle school, high school, public school life, and I really kind of stepped away from the faith after college, and really had a really immature idea of what being Catholic meant, what a spiritual life meant, and so I think really struggling with what my faith meant to me, struggling also, being a podcast that talks a lot about mental health, really just struggling, I think, with a kind of a deep loneliness. I moved away, lived overseas for a couple of years, came back to Dallas, and just really didn't have many friends. I'd been 7 hours ahead, time zone wise, and it was tough to keep up with people. So I think kind of experiencing probably at times some of the struggles that many young adults are experiencing, with that feeling of kind of loneliness and depression, not knowing quite where I fit in, not knowing really what my direction was. But I think luckily the Holy Spirit gave me an openness that I'm so grateful for, because it really led me to be open enough to come to a YCP event. And for those, we'll give you the quick version of what YCP is. So Young Catholic Professionals, we call it YCP for short. We're a national network for young adults in their 20s and 30s, really at every stage of the faith journey, men, women, white collar, blue collar, unemployed, employed. It's really about striving together in our younger years, early stage careers, to understand our Catholic faith, especially in light of the work that we do, the vocations that we're called to. So, vocation, we use the word professional very broadly. Right? You don't have to work in an office building. You don't have to come to work in a suit jacket. It's really about seeking to understand our vocation, what we're called to in the world, and then how to live that. In particular, we talk about, how to live that through the workplace, through your work, because it can be such an offering So we have 40 chapters across the country now. So in most of the major cities where many of your listeners probably are, there's a YCP chapter. And so that's really the grassroots of what YCP is. It's about in-person community. It's about spending time together and hearing from speakers, mentors, and those who have a bit more experience than us. We call them seasoned Catholic professionals who can bring that wisdom to us and talk about what they learned in their early years and now what they look for in young people that they're hiring and promoting and supporting in their companies. So it's a really cool dynamic where it's both local and national. It's also cross-generational. And then it's that bridge between faith and work and bringing those things together. So this really set me down a path that ultimately totally transformed my life. YCP really was the catalyst to help me come back to the faith, really embrace what it meant to be a Catholic young adult, young professional, someone striving to at least learn more about what my prayer life can look like, how I can integrate that into my faith. I've developed a wonderful devotion to St. Joseph because of YCP. St. Joseph the Worker in particular, who's our patron at YCP. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I'm now, married. Didn't meet my wife through YCP, but sort of indirectly did. It would have been a great story if it had been through YCP.
That would have been the best, cherry on top. And then I met my wife, and now we have...
so if you join, maybe you'll find a wife.
And now we have 3 beautiful kids. Yes. Oh, my God.
Hey, it's happening. It is happening at YCP. We talk ultimately about developing authentic relationships, right? I mean, that's really what happens at YCP. There's this foundational kind of understanding of how we see the world. We're all at different stages in that journey, in that walk of faith, but there's that understanding that we're all kind of striving towards a relationship with our Lord and trying to figure out how that is integrated into our daily life, what I'm experiencing today, what I'm struggling with today. So yes, one of the fruits of that is people are meeting and getting married and having YCP babies. But we also have people that are starting companies together. They're getting jobs because of people they're meeting, or just ultimately developing deep, meaningful friendships. So it really is beautiful to see all the fruit coming from this apostolate.
I honestly love that so much because so many of our listeners and just friends of ours in general are in this young adult professional world trying to figure ourselves out. And at the same time are just so lonely because corporations are thriving on our loneliness. And it's such a beatdown. And then also a lot of our listeners are people looking for a spouse. So I feel like this is a really quite the crossover moment. I feel like YCP could, it could bridge the gap on a lot of what we're looking for.
Jasmine and I have spoken pretty frequently about possibly having a Catholic bachelorette show.
This would be a great collab for YCP.
I'm saying this and don't steal my idea, but if you guys want to slide in on some sponsorship and submit some of your people, we would be open to that.
We'd love
I love it.
We can find them at the
live
conference.
Pitch. You can't say no to that.
Sounds like
I know, right?
You can't say no. We are live
so
now.
if you say yes, we're going to replay.
Do y'all know the Conti sisters?
Oh, do not.
No.
Oh,
I
man.
need to.
All right. You got to meet them at the conference. We'll talk about our conference in a second. But they're coming. They're with, they run a matchmaking business called Matchmakers in the City.
I read about them on your website. I'm living
Hollywood,
for this.
in California. Yeah.
So cool.
So they're going to be there. So I think you guys need to get together because there's maybe a pretty cool collab opportunity.
They know what to do already. We have the idea, but they have the knowledge. This is great.
Okay. You
They're
guys,
awesome.
happening.
You're hearing it happen here first, you guys.
Yeah.
This is actually just a brainstorming
maybe you can get
meeting.
them on your show too.
Wow. Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
I love that.
I absolutely love. Well, you know what? This has already been so productive. Yeah. So
I know. I'm I can see what you mean. You make a lot of connections through YCP. We're doing it right now.
We have already.
You're seeing it. You're seeing it
it's
happen.
happening in real time, people.
Oh my gosh, goodness. Well, you know what? I would love to know, before we launch more into the conference and we talk about the power and importance of community and all that amazing things, I would love to know some antidepressant Catholic news. So,
which I have a feeling will be related.
Yeah, which I have a feeling will be closely related. It's honestly pretty nuts. So, you know what, Peter, as our esteemed guest, would you like to share some antidepressant Catholic news with us?
I would love to do that. I think there's so much to be hopeful for in the world today.
Amen.
In particular, I think this conference that we have coming up here in just about a week actually is unbelievable. It's seriously the highlight of the year for me every year, and I think for many as well who are just experiencing coming to it. So we'll have about 750 people coming together in Dallas next week for our national conference. It's called Workers in the Vineyard. And what I love about our conference is that we draw from the kind of teachings and the inspiration of the saints. And so there's a saint associated with each of our conferences. This year we're doing Saint Jose Maria Escriva. And he obviously talked so much about the dignity of work and work through the lens of our faith, right? Work as being, the theme is actually called Workers in the Vineyard, right? Kind of shouldering alongside one another, but for a much greater purpose. And so we'll have this amazing weekend that our entire network comes together. And it's seriously a mix of a huge celebration. It's also a spiritual retreat and it's professional development. So it's kind of this mix of multiple different types of events that you can come from. And I think one of the coolest parts is that, and I think this is really the newsworthy piece is that we have people that come to this event who don't see each other the rest of the year, and they come together once a year at YCP's conference. So they live on opposite sides of the country, and they come together in this moment and spend all weekend together, and that's how their friendship is really developed. And I just think
amazing.
that leads to a lot of hope, I think, for those who may be struggling or maybe don't know where to go or don't know where to start or don't know if it's possible to still develop deep relationships in today's culture and today's world. And and I'm here to say you absolutely can. And perhaps YCP could be a way to do that. But everything you guys are doing, I think, will help lead people to really kind of having a hopeful view of their future.
I mean, that was the biggest. I hope that, okay, for our producer listening, just cut out splice that last part of like, we are doing a lot for the culture because thank you.
Thank you so much. No,
that was a huge compliment. So thank you. And honestly, this conference sounds so dope. You have so excited. Yeah. Like so many great things that are going to be happening. And I mean,
including you all being there.
You know what?
Oh my gosh,
and I wasn't
really
gonna
hyping
say
us
that.
up in a way that I wasn't prepared for.
I wasn't going to say it, but like, thank you. And I think like just this is a real word. This is a word to folks that say, hey, like the faith isn't really popping. It's not really like up and about,
true.
especially in young adult culture. And that our culture, isn't a culture of connection because like you were saying, we do have a culture of connection, even if it's something where it's once a year, folks are encountering each other. It's so important to remember that we are meant for human connection and that is like one of the catalysts for wonderful things, probably one of the main catalysts, whether it's an encounter with each other, an encounter with Jesus, whatever it is, it like keeps us going. So this is so great that you guys have this because so many young adults, are just out here wishing for somebody else to chat with and to just be with. And I think like Jasmine was saying, in our culture that really, really like emphasizes grind culture and de-emphasizes human connection, it can be really, really hard, especially when you're trying to be professional and keep a standard of faith to feel like you can have both of those things. So God bless you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that balance is so hard.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and I think often young people today feel like they're on an island, and that I think especially younger when they're coming right out of college, you don't have much experience, you get thrown into a cube farm somewhere, and you're just getting bombarded with all of this messaging, and from within the workplace, just from the broader culture, and it's just really tough to kind of separate truth from untruth, right? And I think even just first knowing that there are others that are in your shoes is so encouraging. Just kind of an awareness that you're not alone is the first step. And we've seen that be the case. But then proactively, what can we do, right? What can we do together? And then how do we come together to encourage one another and ultimately give us the confidence to go back out and say, okay, because of that interaction with that person, I know myself a little better now. I know where I'm supposed to be going a little better now. You know, like I'll never forget a YCP speaker early on when I was going. I wasn't even working for YCP at this point. I was just a member trying to kind of figure out my path. And he said something that I've shared a lot and has transformed the way I think about my life. He said, my job, this is the speaker, he said, my job is to get myself to heaven, to get my spouse to heaven, to get my kids to heaven, and then to get anyone else that I interact with to heaven. That's it. Full stop. And it really has helped me over the years just to think through, yes, getting yourself to heaven, but what about the people around you, right? Many of your listeners may not have kids yet, may not even be married yet, but how do we help get people to heaven that we're interacting with? It may be the person in the next desk over. It may be someone who lives in an apartment next to us who we don't interact with very often. Maybe someone we're in the grocery store line next to. So I think an openness to kind of seeing the world through the lens of how do we help each other get to heaven can be really transformative.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful to like take community to that level, that it's not just like, oh, I'm building a Catholic community around me so I have friends or I have people like me, but it's actually like in action, and that's your most important work, because culture in general just emphasizes like what we can produce and contribute to society. But this is like flipping it on its head and like, what can we contribute to like the communion of saints? What can we contribute to the church? Like it really changes the perspective, because to what Chanel was saying, then like, it's not about grind culture if you're not spending time with your family because you're so busy working. Like, you're missing the point of the whole thing if you can't actually help yourself get to heaven and help your family and help those around you, and you're too focused on your like actual 9 to 5. That's actually like 9 to midnight job,
Because that's the craziest part. Is it's like, I was talking with a friend about this yesterday, that so many young adults are in this position where we, regardless if we're like in a boardroom or we're just literally, I used to manage like a Chinese restaurant years ago. So whatever kind of job you have, whatever it is, like we're in this like survival mindset, grind mentality. Like we gotta just keep on going, hustle culture, like nothing else matters but production. And then every aspect of your life becomes an emphasis on production. And so then when you meet friends, potential friends, you're just you're wondering about like what can you do with this person? How can you make this something great? What can they
contribute to my life? What
can this friendship be? What can this relationship be? And it's like, dude, just like just exist.
Just let it be.
Yeah, just like let it be. Yeah. Let it be. Encourage each other to be your best, and just like that's it. Like just chill, and it's within the context of marriage. Just like vibe, encourage your spouse to be their best, encourage your kids, encourage your friends. And like if we all just changed our mentality to not a production mentality, like your spouse, your kids, your friends, like it doesn't have to be this grand relationship. It can just be a relationship where you both are like, we're just trying to get our eternal reward. And like, that's pretty much the vibe.
Like that's the goal.
Yeah, like that's the vibe. Like that's it. And it really is just like the time after you graduate from college is the worst time. Like that post-graduation.
It's a tough transition.
Oh my gosh.
So
like
hard.
That, because you don't, it's like your connection with other people at that point was college. Like you have something major in common. And then you graduate and you're like, I have nothing in common with folks outside of like my job. And then they always tell you like, oh, don't make friends at work. So then you're like, okay, well then how am I supposed to, like, well then how am I supposed to make friends?
How else do you meet people?
How else do you meet people?
Yeah,
So then it's like,
yeah.
well then how am I supposed to live my faith? Because this is supposed to be who I am. You know, it's really something. So God bless y'all. You guys are doing it.
Absolutely.
For the culture.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your work. And thank you for chatting with us today. This has been so great. I mean, even just for us, I mean, the connections and just the information more about YCP, feel way more prepared for this conference. So this has been great. And we cannot wait to see you and Harrison Butker in person. It's going to be great. Honestly, you're both on the same level for us. We're so excited.
Oh my goodness. Gosh. Well,
I mean, because
I'm not sure about
point,
that, but
no, at this point, I mean, we have met like the president of YCP. This is pretty, I mean,
like,
this
we're
is pretty,
doing it.
This is pretty big deal. And like you have spoken to Harrison Butker at one point. So
have you?
In reality,
wait, we need to know. Have you spoken to him or his
I
people?
have.
Okay, so we are now
we've essentially
2
spoken
degrees
to
away.
Harrison Butker and to Taylor
2
Swift.
degrees. We're getting closer and closer. That's what
I know.
I'm
Every
saying.
time we get closer,
This is like a really big
it's
deal.
happening.
And
this
like,
is our route
honestly,
to meeting Taylor, and we're so thankful you're part of it. Thank you so much.
and like our friendships.
Well, don't tell Harrison that I'm the reason that you guys are coming after him and to talk about Taylor.
Our friendships.
Yeah, we won't. We'll hold you unresponsible.
Truly, our friendship's a means to an end. I don't know. Because I mean, this seems like
the end is heaven.
This seems
so,
like
the end is heaven.
The means to heaven.
Okay,
there it is. He's like, I'm going to bring you guys back to life. Thank you for bringing us back to reality.
Perfect.
Well, we appreciate you. We cannot wait to see you next week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't wait to see you guys as well. It's going to be an awesome weekend, and thanks again for the invitation. Great to be with you here.
Thank you.
Keep up the awesome work.
Thank you so much. And remember, the world is depressing,
but we are not.